So, with the evacuations in Los Angeles, with the wildfires and the utter destruction and loss of buildings and homes, and families are in dismay about just the chaos that unfolded and the mismanagement of the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles. Not only did we see a lot of public reaction to this, but we're also now seeing a lot of celebrities have chimed in to their kind of backlash on the mishandling of this. For example, actress Sarah Michelle Gellar, among celebrities slamming LA Mayor Karen Bass over handling of city's wildfires. And this is from a site called Castanet. Because apparently even celebrity influence can't get to mainstream media. That's surprising. So Sarah Michelle Gellar is among the celebrities slamming Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass over the handling of the devastating wildfires that have devastated the city. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer actress joined a host of famous faces to slam the civic leader over how she and other local elected officials have responded to the infernos that erupted in Southern California on Tuesday, leading to the evacuation of armies and of citizens and the destruction of a string of A-lister homes. Sarah said on Instagram, "City of LA, you want everyone to evacuate, yet you have a complete gridlock and not one traffic cop on the roads helping." She tagged Bass and the city of Los Angeles in her message. Actress Sarah Foster used X to slam the way LA was being run, ranting on the platform, "We pay the highest taxes in California. Our fire hydrants were empty. Our vegetation was overgrown. Brush was not cleared. Our reservoirs were emptied by our governor because tribal leaders want to save fish. The infamous smelts. The infamous smelt. It's so tiny and worthless, McDonald's can't even use it for their fish fillets." I'm just imagining what Trump would say in that. Our fire department budget was cut by our mayor, but thank God drug addicts are getting their drug kits. Foster also called for Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom to resign, arguing their far-left policies have ruined our state and also our party. James Woods. James Woods, who went on to CNN and had basically cried on camera, losing everything. He also chimes in saying that who lost his mansion in the Palisades fire and previously slammed Bass and Newsom by branding them liberal idiots. He seeds on X in response to a fan who highlighted how he had expressed skepticism over climate change. He stated, "This fire is not from climate change, you ignorant blank. It's because liberal idiots like you it's like liberal idiots like you elect liberal idiots like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass. One doesn't understand the first thing about fire management, and the other can't fill the water reservoirs." So, this is kind of what I've been saying about this. Again, however you feel about climate change is not the point of this. It's completely disregarded in this conversation. Because, in all respect, nature is going to nature. Nature is going to do whatever it is. And especially in a place like California, when you know that this is frequent, when you know that wildfires happen rapidly, when you know that there's droughts constantly, this is where you need governorship, where you need leadership in these areas to step up to the plate and make sure that you're prepared for those disasters. And obviously, you can't obviously prevent it completely. You can't legislate over nature, which is kind of what the whole climate change fiasco really comes down to, is the people think there's the ability to legislate and govern over acts of nature that we have no control over. That's just impossible. And that's leading to a lot of the debate and debacle within climate change. But again, that's not the point of this. The point of this is the fact that Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass had every opportunity to prepare for a situation like this that could have decreased the amount of fires that are erupting in Southern California. And given the fact that you are living in basically a desert, one of the driest areas in that state, that you could easily get the water from the northern state and flow it through the aqueducts into the reservoirs to prepare for something like this. But they didn't. They didn't. And you're talking about one of the richest nations, one of the richest states in the nation. 5th largest economy on earth. And now you see neighborhoods and total communities just absolutely burnt to a crisp because of really just the mismanagement here. So here is actress here. So here's actress Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond in the Middle. She chimes in on this. She does this video here. Also pushing back on Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and this mismanagement here. And, you know, we saw a lot of the public reaction. We're going to see a lot more of it coming up. But to see people like Patricia Heaton and James Woods and Sarah Michelle Gellar and so many other celebrities that are fearful of this, as devastating as the fires are, and my sympathy goes out to everybody, regardless of who you are in California, on these wildfires, it is kind of remarkable to see celebrities now understanding the frustration that most of the general public deals with on an average day, and why there's such distrust with the government, why so many people, you know, voted for Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris, why they had despised the Democratic Party. Now you're seeing a lot of celebrities kind of having this realization to it. So listen to this.
To see what's happening in the Pacific Palisades in California, in Los Angeles. So many good friends who worked really hard for years and created beautiful homes for themselves and their families. It's all going up in smoke, and preventable, by the way. I mean, we have a mayor who cut the budget of the fire department in California by over $17 million. Fire is the biggest hazard in Los Angeles. Why would you cut that budget?
But think about all the people in Ukraine that are now benefiting from the surplus that we gave them. That literally, that's what happened. They cut the fire budget, the fire department budget, in one of the most necessary cities that you need a fire budget. You need a fire department budget surplus. They cut that to send off to Ukraine. Just the visualization of how much Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom utterly just don't care about these people. Utterly just don't care.
There was no water in the fire hydrants in the Palisades. And by the way, she wasn't even in town during like fire season. A completely stupid trip to Ghana, completely unnecessary, on taxpayer funds. Maybe stop doing those trips and fund the fire department. This is what's infuriating. I don't hate California. I love California. We had 32 beautiful years there, and the people running the show just decimated the place. Drugs, homelessness with mentally ill people on the streets, crime. Our next door neighbors were burglarized there. Taxes. What are you paying all these taxes for? To see your neighborhood go up in smoke. It's so enraging that they took one of the most beautiful states, maybe the most beautiful state in the union, and just continued to destroy it.
And the fact that California is obviously one of the biggest, highest taxes in the United States, it's also just amazing the fact that just a short while ago, Gavin Newsom ranted and raved about the fact that California had a surplus. It had the surplus of money and was going to fix the homelessness epidemic that we've known for many, 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 many years. Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to the surplus that they were dancing around doing a happy dance for? Whatever happened to that? Did that fix the homeless problem? No. Did that go to the fire department to preemptively precaution for upcoming wildfires? No. Did that go towards the construction of a water tunnel that would get water to Southern California? That majority, the vast majority, everybody in Southern California voted for? No. So where'd that surplus go to? Your fancy dinners? Your nights out with celebrity endorsers that are going to campaign you for a possible presidential run in 2028? Probably not after this. God knows that no one's going to be voting for you or consider you presidential after this. It's just chaotic.
Gavin Newsom standing there with his hands in his pockets. Oh, well. I just really feel for everybody there. I really do.
So that is Patricia Heaton there expressing just her dismay, her just reaction to this. And again, just to witness this, as horrific this scenario is, and again, I'm putting my empathy, my sympathy out to everybody in California dealing with this, regardless of who you are. But to witness high-level celebrities coming forward, addressing Gavin Newsom, calling out the corruption, it gives me a bit of hope and glimmer to realize that now Hollywood is starting to realize and understand the troubles and tribulations of poor people. That now there's finally kind of this connection. That now, since you have been parts of this governmental just mismanagement and your homes have also been destroyed, you understand what people deal with on an average day. You understand why people of California, a majority of them voted for Donald Trump. If you look at the California election, a lot of the state was red. The only parts that were primarily blue were obviously LA itself, the city, and parts of like San Francisco. Everybody else was pretty much on board with Trump because of stuff like this, because they know just how disparaging and awful Gavin Newsom's leadership is, and the lack of leadership, really. So here, another famous actor, Zachary Levi, goes on to Fox News here. It says, actor Zachary Levi lays out a compelling case for holding Democrat politicians accountable for criminal negligence with these fires. He also sounds like a man who should run for office because he'd be 1,000 times better than what we have right now in California. So, which I don't endorse people to jump on board with that because, again, it's like the Oprah fiasco with the Golden Globes. Oh my God, she said a wonderful speech. Oh my God, she should run for office. God, no. No. Oprah should stay clear of politics. Like, the fact that she was a daytime host and getting billions of dollars, that's already skeptical as is. I don't want her kind of in office, regardless of how she speaks. But here's Zachary Levi on Fox News. Many people remember, I think he was on the Marvel movies, the last I recall seeing him. Here's what he said.
This is just incredible mismanagement, incredibly poor leadership. I would go so far as to say that it's criminally negligent because, I mean, Gavin Newsom has been either the governor for 5 years or lieutenant governor prior to that for 8-9 years. Some of the worst fires we've ever had in California under that watch. He clearly knows that the biggest problem that we suffer in California are these fires, and by the way, the mudslides that follow. And for them to do essentially not just nothing, but worse than nothing when firefighter budgets are being cut, when they are specifically intentionally not doing the work that could be done to avoid these problems or to be able to effectively serve them when they are happening, we are losing, I mean, I think it's something like millions of acres of feet of water runoff from rain and snow every year in California. As you pointed out, I think the smelt have something to do with that. That's an acre foot of water, by the way, is about 330,000 gallons of water. And there's millions of those that are just rolling off into the ocean when they could be captured in cisterns. We'd have an ecosystem of hoses and safety measures that can keep all of these homes and people in these homes safe. And for some reason, they choose to do none of that. And at some point, it goes beyond just whoopsie. At some point, it goes beyond negligence. There's something that's almost criminally intentional about this. Like, what are they doing? I don't know.
So you mentioned criminal intent, and you mentioned criminal negligence. Because California can build anything. I mean, look at Silicon Valley, look at Hollywood. If they want to do something, California can do it. But you haven't built a single reservoir in 10 years? You're just letting water run into the Pacific? Because of what? A fish that no one's heard of? Does anybody care about the smelt fish?
I mean,
that poor fish had to be the blunt of the blame. Poor fish. Just swimming along, minding its own business, and now it's become the talk of the town. I didn't even know about the smelt till this happened. I would have not known a thing about it. And like I said, when I was researching and grabbing these clips, I've seen countless, comments and people mentioning that they work in fisheries, they work in, oceanic research or whatever it's called. And even though the smelt is a kind of endangering species, there are still other areas in the region across North America that still have the smelt. So to try to ignore the woes of Southern California, the dry area of the state that is going to burst into flames at some point, to protect a fish that could easily go to other regions in America, yeah, you kind of see why this is just an absolute FU to Southern California. You see why people are so angered. Even though that poor little fish had nothing to do with this. It's just bad timing. You just got caught in the mix. I'm sorry for whatever reason the smelt would be good for.
I mean, listen, I think that both can be true. I think we can care about the smelt fish and we can care about our environment and also be able to value human life and the wonderful cities and civilizations that we have built and find some kind of a balance in all of that. Even still with the smelt, there's no reason why we couldn't have safeguards to prevent what is going on right now. This is just, it's absurd. But I would say at the end of the day, like I said, I don't know if there's criminal intent. I have no idea why they are doing or not doing the things that they are doing, but they must be held responsible. This is not good leadership. Listen, this is the man who, in the middle of the pandemic, when people were being locked up for going and gathering together, he was at French Laundry having dinner with his friends. What does that say about the character of this man who is doing nothing to help the people of California? I don't believe that he is.
That's right. During the pandemic, when he told, and California had one of the worst restrictions for the pandemic. He told everyone to stay inside. You can't gather. You can't see anybody. Where was Gavin Newsom? He was having fancy dinners with his donors out in public without a mask. That was during the pandemic. That was during the Mr. Science, as Gavin Newsom liked to claim himself. Mr. Science, Mr. Responsible. Unlike that orange buffoon who, God forbid, wants to bring water to these dry areas. Ugh, what a crazy maniac that guy is. This is also the same governor when the president of China came to visit into the state. He managed to clean up homelessness. Like that. Got rid of the homeless off the street, put them into shelters, God knows where they went, but was able to clean up the streets in time for the incoming presidential visit of China. Why can't he do that on the regular? But as soon as the president of China left, the homeless population exploded once again. So it goes to show you the mindset of this narcissist, Gavin Newsom, and what kind of a maniac this guy is. Here's also, this is a funny tweet that I put together too. This guy, Jack Poso, says, literally, this situation is the entire plot of Chinatown. Which I never even thought about. Classic Jack Nicholson movie. I think we should consider that part of our film review Q&A streams that we do. From 1974 is about the California water wars and how corrupt bureaucrats and predatory elites intentionally dumped water into the ocean to create an artificial drought to devalue land so they can buy it up. Well, talk about life imitating art. Or is this art imitating life? One of the two. But isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? The classic 1974 Chinatown with Jack Nicholson kind of was the pretext to what is happening right now in 2025. Kind of interesting. Here's also to add to, the coverage of this. I'm not putting my foot down. I am not saying that this is exactly what it is, but I'm just adding this to the conversation because, let it be known, we've heard this before. So, this article from State Tech, how Los Angeles plans to become a smarter city by the 2028 Olympics. LA recently released a smart city roadmap that envisions a highly digital and connected future. So, obviously, Los Angeles is supposedly hosting the Olympics in 2028. That was being scheduled. I don't know what's going to come of that with these fires, with the devastation, the cleanup, and the restoration. But how many times have we heard that a disaster breaks out, and before this disaster breaks out, there is some sort of architect design, some sort of criminal intent, as Zachary Levi would say, where the city managers already plotted out something that they could resurrect the city into their vision, into a globalist vision. Where have we heard this before? So I'm not saying that this is why, but I'm not ruling this out because we have heard this so many times before. This was what was mentioned about Maui. This was mentioned about in BC when we had our wildfires here. I've heard this so many times before that undoubtedly there could be a reason behind this being the forefront of this conversation. But I don't know for sure. I don't have the evidence to back this. So I'm just leaving it up to the conversation. I'm not I'm not going with it or going against it. I'm just saying that it does seem very interesting that once again we see an article like this, just like we've seen multiple before. And given that 15-minute cities, smart cities, have been a conversation for a couple of years, could be, very well could be.